Have you ever felt like something or someone was watching you, even when you were completely alone? As if the silence around you was just an illusion, hiding something much darker in the shadows. Today, I, Raven Shadowmere, here on the Midnight Mysteries channel, will take you to such a place where the silence is deafening and the mystery is so thick you could cut it with a knife. We're talking about Silent Lake, a location known for its legends of mysterious disappearances and an unsettling presence that seems to lurk among the trees. In the summer of 1975, Mia and Dylan decided to investigate the secrets of this infamous lake. Young and full of curiosity, they believed they could uncover the mysteries behind the inexplicable disappearances that haunted the area. But what they didn't know was that they were about to become entangled in a story much deeper and more disturbing than they could ever imagine. A story where reality and the supernatural intertwine in a way that defies all logic. And you, do you believe in urban legends? What if I told you that this story has a big secret at the end, something no one would ever expect? So, get ready for an unexpected twist and a deep dive into the dark mysteries of Silent Lake. But before we continue, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our chilling stories. After all, you don't want to get lost in the dark, do you? Speaking of which, what would you do if you came face to face with the inexplicable? Will Mia and Dylan make it out of this journey unscathed? Stay with me, because what they discover is something that goes far beyond what any of us could imagine. Shall we unravel this mystery together? From the Hillbilly Horror Stories series. The road leading to Silent Lake seemed to stretch infinitely, surrounded by tall, dense trees whose intertwined branches formed a green canopy overhead. Mia and I were excited, but a strange feeling lingered in the air, as if nature itself was watching us. The car was packed with camping gear, a few lanterns, a camera, and of course, a notebook to jot down everything we found. "Do you really think we'll discover something?" Mia asked, breaking the silence that had settled between us. "Of course," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "This place is famous for its legends and disappearances. It's our chance to uncover them." Mia raised an eyebrow, her expression skeptical. "Or we could end up disappearing too." "Don't be dramatic," I laughed, though the thought sent a chill down my spine. "We're here to investigate. Let's set up camp first, and then we can explore." We arrived at the lake at dusk. The waters were dark and calm, reflecting the reddish sky. The place had a haunting beauty that fascinated me, while simultaneously leaving me unsettled. We began to pitch the tent, and as we worked, the silence grew increasingly oppressive. "Have you heard the stories about the people who disappeared here?" Mia asked, breaking the stillness. "Of course, who hasn't?" I replied, trying to keep the conversation light. "They say many people who came here were never seen again. Some legends talk about a young girl named Emily." "Emily," she interrupted, her eyes lighting up. "I've heard about her. They say she disappeared decades ago, and her spirit still haunts the lake." "It's just a story, Mia. Let's not get carried away." I was trying to convince her, but the truth was that the idea of Emily intrigued me. What could have happened to her? After setting up the tent, we decided to sit around the campfire. The crackling flames and the smell of burning wood brought a temporary sense of comfort, but the tension was still palpable. "Do you believe in ghosts?" Mia asked, staring into the flames. "Me? No," I answered, but a part of me questioned that. "But I enjoy mystery stories." She smiled, but there was a glint of concern in her eyes. "Well, if this Emily really exists, what do you think happened to her?" "I don't know." I sighed. "Maybe it was an accident, or perhaps someone hurt her. We need to find out more about her." As the night wore on, darkness seemed to come alive around us. After a few hours of conversation, we decided it was time to sleep. As we prepared, a strange noise echoed through the forest. We looked at each other, both frozen for a moment. "What was that?" Mia whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know." "Should we check it out?" I suggested. feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. With lanterns in hand, we followed the sound that seemed to be coming from the lake's edge. With each step, the tension mounted, and the darkness felt like it was closing in around us. When we reached the water's edge, our hearts raced. A white, ethereal figure walked across the surface of the lake, as if defying the laws of gravity. "Dylan, are you seeing this?" Mia almost screamed, her gaze fixed on the apparition. "Yes," I replied, my voice nearly failing. "What is that?" The figure seemed to float, its presence emanating a deep sadness. We instinctively stepped back, but curiosity pulled us forward. Was what we were seeing real? The legend of Emily was unfolding before us, and adrenaline surged through our veins. "We need to go back. This isn't safe," Mia insisted, tugging at my arm. "Wait." I tried to protest, but the sight of the figure held me in a state of fascination. The figure vanished in the same instant we saw it. The lake, once calm, now seemed to pulse with an unknown energy. I knew this was just the beginning, and we were about to get involved in something much bigger than we had imagined. I woke up to the sunlight filtering through the trees, illuminating our little campsite. The previous night was still fresh in my memory, and the image of the figure walking on the waters of Silent Lake left me uneasy. I looked over at Mia, who was still sleeping, her face serene, but I knew that as soon as she woke up, we would need to talk about what we saw. I got up slowly to avoid waking her and walked to the lake's edge. The water was calm, but the feeling that something was about to happen lingered in the air. When Mia finally woke up, I wasted no time in sharing my thoughts. "Mia, we need to talk about the apparition," I said, trying to keep my voice low. She stretched, her eyes still sleepy, but they quickly became alert upon hearing my serious tone. "About the figure in the water? You're not thinking of backing out, are you?" she asked, a mix of concern and determination in her voice. "Not a chance. But we need to explore more. We need to understand what happened here," I replied, already getting up and starting to pack our things. "Let's walk around the lake. Maybe we'll find some clues." Mia agreed, and soon we were walking along the trail that circled the lake. With every step, the tension in the air grew, as if the forest itself was watching us. As we moved away from the campsite, I began to notice old objects scattered on the ground. Fragments of pottery, a piece of frosted glass that looked like part of an old bottle. This only heightened my curiosity. "Look at this, Dylan," Mia exclaimed, crouching to pick up a small object. It was a medal, dirty and slightly rusted, yet still beautiful. "Do you think it belonged to someone who disappeared?" "It could be. Let's take it. It might be a clue," I suggested, tucking the medal into my pocket. We continued our exploration until we spotted a small abandoned cabin hidden among the trees. The wooden boards were weathered and covered in moss, as if time had stopped there. A chill ran down my spine. "Do you think we should go inside?" I asked Mia, who looked at the cabin with a mix of fear and curiosity. "Yes, it's better than standing here speculating. There might be something useful inside," she replied, already approaching the door. I pushed the creaking door open, and the smell of mold and rotting wood invaded our nostrils. The interior was dark and dusty, but we could see broken shelves and furniture covered in grime. Mia approached a table where I spotted a diary leaning against the wall, almost as if it had been waiting for us. "Dylan, come see this," Mia called to me, her voice echoing in the silence of the cabin. The diary was worn, but the pages were still legible. We opened the diary together, and what we found made my heart race. The words were from Emily, the young woman who had disappeared. She talks about a forbidden love. I began to read aloud, while Mia leaned in closer to hear better. It seems she was involved with someone her family didn't approve of. "This could be important," Mia commented, her eyes shining with the discovery. If her love was so strong, it could have led to conflicts. I continued reading, and the story grew darker. Emily described moments of happiness, but also despair and anguish. She mentions a secret, something that made her feel trapped, I said, my voice faltering as I grasped the depth of her suffering. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the cabin, causing the pages of the diary to flutter rapidly. The door slammed shut, and I glanced at Mia, who was pale. "Dylan, what was that?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I don't know, but we need to get out of here," I replied, trying to keep calm as my heart raced. The feeling of being watched intensified, and a strange presence seemed to surround us. We attempted to open the door, but it was locked, as if an invisible force held it shut. "Dylan, I don't like this. We need to leave now," Mia shouted, and the urgency in her voice flooded me with panic. I looked at the diary, where Emily's words seemed to dance in the dim light coming through the window. It was as if she was calling to us. "We need to find out what happened to her," I murmured, more to myself than to Mia. "But yes, we have to leave. Now." With a combined effort, we managed to pry the door open and stumbled out into the open air. The relief was instantaneous, but it was quickly replaced by a growing pressure in our chests. The silent lake lay before us, unchanged and silent, holding its secrets, and perhaps the truth we were determined to uncover. The night at Silent Lake was a mix of calm and unease. The sky was clear, but the atmosphere felt charged with something undefined. The campfire crackled softly, but the whispers from the lake were like a distant echo, a sinister melody that wouldn't let me rest. Mia sat beside me, her eyes reflecting the firelight as we tried to process what we had discovered in the abandoned cabin. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Mia asked, breaking the silence. Her voice was a whisper, as if she feared the lake itself might hear. "About Emily's diary?" "Yes, it's disturbing. Everything she went through," I replied, looking at the lake's surface. The image of the ghostly figure still danced in my mind. "I think we need to find out more about this story." She sighed, fear and curiosity visible on her face. "But what if what we saw is dangerous? That spirit, it seemed to be calling us." "I know, but what if she needs our help? If the stories of disappearances are connected to her?" At that moment, a stronger whisper cut through the air, coming directly from the lake. We both turned, and my heart began to race. The figure appeared again, clearer than before, hovering over the water like a shadow dancing. It felt as if the lake itself was drawing us in, beckoning us into its cold embrace. "Mia, we need to go over there. We have to understand what she wants," I said, feeling a mix of fear and determination. I knew it was risky, but the urge to uncover the truth was like an electric current coursing through my body. "Dylan, you're being reckless. That might not be safe." She stood up, her voice trembling. "What if she pulls us into the water? What happened to those who disappeared?" "I can't ignore this. We're here to uncover the truth. I can't let fear decide for me," I replied, already walking towards the edge of the lake. The weight of Mia's words hung over me, but the impulse to follow the figure was stronger. "Dylan, wait." She caught up to me, gripping my arm. "You don't understand. I dreamed about her. She was begging me not to get close to the water. I don't know what it means, but..." "You dreamed about Emily? What did she say exactly?" I asked, intrigued and alarmed by her revelation. The fact that Mia had dreamed about the young woman could be a warning, but the need to uncover the truth about the lake was overwhelming. She looked sad and scared. She showed me flashes of her life, and then she told me not to come here, to stay away from the water. "Dylan, this isn't just a whim, it's a warning." I hesitated, the internal conflict consuming me. The figure still hovered, its eyes seemingly fixed on me, as if it knew my dilemma. The desire to dive into the truth and the caution Mia expressed clashed within me. But what if she really needs us? What if this warning is to protect us, but also to guide us? "Dylan, we can't risk our lives over a legend. We've seen what happened before. The lake is dangerous," Mia protested, pulling me back, her intense gaze locked onto mine. "I can't just stand here and do nothing. If Emily is trapped, I need to help, even if it means facing the unknown." My voice sounded firm, but deep down, a wave of uncertainty crashed over me. Mia looked at me, her eyes filled with concern. What if this is a mistake? What if the truth is darker than we imagined? The figure in the lake seemed to hesitate, the mist around it swirling as if it were undecided. I don't know," I replied, finally acknowledging the gravity of the situation. "But I can't ignore what I feel. What do you think we should do?" "We need a plan," let's step back from the lake for now and gather more information. We need to understand what really happened to Emily before making any rash decisions. Mia seemed calmer now, and I knew she was right. We needed to be strategic. Okay, let's step back for a while, but I can't promise I won't want to return to investigate this later. I took one last look at the figure, which now seemed more distant, almost as if it were saying goodbye. With one final glance at the lake, we began to head back to the campsite, the weight of the revelation and uncertainties hanging over us. The mystery still lingered, but now there was a new understanding. We weren't just dealing with a spirit, but with the pain and sorrow of an untold story, a past that cried out for justice, and we were determined to uncover the truth. The cold morning breeze cut through the air as Mia and I drove our car toward the nearby town by Silent Lake. The gray sky seemed to reflect the tension that hung over us. I could still feel the presence of the figure we had seen at night, as if it were following us, watching every move we made. "Do you think the old man will know more about Emily?" Mia asked, breaking the silence that stretched between us. "I hope so. We need answers, and any clue we can find might help us understand what's happening," I replied, trying to hide the anxiety in my voice. The sound of the car engine and the rustling leaves accompanied us, but my thoughts were entirely focused on the lake and the entity that inhabited it. We arrived in town and parked in front of a small antique shop. The place had a nostalgic air, filled with old furniture and dusty objects that seemed to tell stories of a distant past. Mia and I entered, and soon our eyes landed on an old man behind the counter. He had white hair and a deep gaze, as if he carried the weight of many memories. "Hello, sir. We're looking for information about Emily," I said, hesitating a bit. The old man raised his eyebrows, and a flicker of recognition passed through his eyes. "Emily? Ah, the young woman who disappeared. Many still remember her around here," he replied in a grave tone. "But what do you really want to know?" "We want to know what happened to her. What led her to disappear?" Mia asked, her voice a bit firmer than mine. The old man seemed to hesitate, as if weighing whether he should share his story. "She was a lively girl, but also very unhappy. She had a forbidden love, something that wasn't accepted by her family. He was not from her social class," he began, looking down at the floor. "But that's not all. Emily was the victim of a brutal crime. The lake holds more secrets than you can imagine." His words hung in the air like a shadow, and I exchanged a worried glance with Mia. "What kind of crime?" I asked, my curiosity overcoming the growing fear inside me. "The true culprit may still be at large. Her spirit is trapped between this world and the next, seeking justice for all that happened. Be careful, young ones. The lake is not a safe place," he warned, his voice becoming a whisper laden with gravity. I felt a shiver run down my spine. The idea that the one responsible for all this torment might still be around unsettled me. "How can we help Emily?" Mia asked, determination evident in her voice. "You need to understand that what happened to her was not just an accident. She is tied to the lake, and what she wants may be deeper than you imagine." The old man looked at us with a serious expression, as if he knew we were about to involve ourselves in something much greater than ourselves. We left the shop with our minds racing, each of us immersed in our own thoughts. "We need to go back to the lake and confront the entity. Now that we know what happened, maybe we can help her find peace," I suggested, feeling a wave of courage swell within me. Mia agreed, though I could see the hesitation in her eyes. "I just hope we don't regret this," she murmured as we drove back. The drive seemed longer than usual, every curve and every tree a constant reminder of our mission. As we arrived at the campsite, the sun was beginning to set, casting long and strange shadows around us. The atmosphere felt heavy, as if nature was aware of our intention. "Dylan, do you really think we can do this? Confront Emily's spirit?" Mia asked, her tone revealing a mix of fear and determination. "We have to try. If there's a chance to free her, we can't just stand by," I replied, trying to inspire confidence. The truth was, I was terrified too, but the thought of leaving Emily trapped in that lake was unbearable. When we reached the edge of the lake, the water was calm, reflecting the reddish sky of dusk. It was as if the lake itself was watching us. "Are we ready?" Mia asked, her voice barely a whisper. I took a deep breath and nodded. "Let's do this." And so, with my heart racing and my mind filled with questions, we prepared for the confrontation that would change our lives forever. The night was shrouded in a veil of mystery, and the silent lake seemed to pulse with an unsettling energy. Mia and I approached the shore, the sound of the water soft and hypnotic, but the tension in the air was palpable. Breathing deeply, I tried to dissolve the fear that had settled in my chest. "Mia, are you ready for this?" I asked, looking at her. Her eyes reflected the moonlight, but there was a shadow of concern that couldn't be ignored. "I don't know, Dylan. What if the entity really doesn't want us to come closer?" Her voice trembled, but there was a hidden determination in her gaze. She seemed so sad. It was true. The figure that had first appeared intrigued and terrified me at the same time. She didn't resemble a vengeful ghost, but rather a lost soul, crying out for help. "We need to understand what she wants. We can't just ignore this," I asserted, feeling a surge of courage wash over me. With a hesitant movement, I stepped further into the water, feeling the coolness of the night breeze on my face. "Emily," I called, hoping my voice would echo across the vastness of the lake. The silence that followed was deafening, but the figure began to move, her elegant, ethereal silhouette approaching the shore. She hesitated, as if struggling against something internal. "Dylan," Mia whispered, pulling my arm. "Be careful." But I couldn't pull back. Something inside me, a deep impulse, told me I needed to stay there. "Please, Emily," I continued, my voice softer now. "We're here to help. What do you need?" The entity looked at me, and a wave of profound sadness shone through her gaze. Her eyes, which seemed to reflect centuries of pain, locked onto mine, and in a moment of clarity, I realized she didn't want revenge. She wanted understanding. "I don't want revenge," she said, her voice ethereal like a whisper on the wind. With each word, her tone became clearer, revealing a fragility that made me feel a deep connection. "I need the truth about my disappearance to be revealed." "Truth?" Mia asked, her voice heavy with disbelief. "What do you mean by that?" The figure shook her head, as if the pain of the past prevented her from speaking openly. "Return to the lake at midnight," she said, her voice now firmer. "Only then will you discover." "But how can we know what happened?" I inquired, but the entity was already beginning to pull away, her ethereal form dissolving into the darkness of the night. "The truth," she murmured before disappearing completely. The silence that followed her departure was deafening. I looked at Mia, who seemed as stunned as I was. "That was intense," she finally managed to say. "What do you think she meant by the truth?" "I don't know, but we have to come back here at midnight. I believe she really wants us to uncover what happened to her," I replied, feeling a growing determination. "We can't let fear hold us back." Mia nodded, though the expression on her face still showed doubt. "This seems risky, Dylan. What if it's a trap?" She crossed her arms, as if trying to protect herself from what was yet to come. "If it is, then we'll face it together," I assured her, taking her hand and holding it tight. "We can't let Emily's past continue to haunt her. We need to give her the peace she deserves." With that, we decided to head back to camp, but the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The following night promised to be a confrontation with the unknown, and I felt that our lives would never be the same again. Even as we walked back, the image of Emily's figure remained etched in my mind, and one question echoed. What truth did she want us to discover? The connection I felt with her was strong, and I knew the answer was closer than we imagined. Night was approaching, and with it, the fate of us all. The atmosphere around the lake was heavy, almost palpable, as the vision intensified. Emily's spirit floated before me, her expression a mix of pain and hope. It was as if, through her, I was witnessing not just her death, but her entire life. The laughter, the whispers of love, but also the betrayal that led her to this tragic end. With every moment, the scene became clearer. I saw flashes of moments, Emily running through flower-filled fields, her radiant smile lighting up the place, and then, a shadow approaching, a treacherous gaze that I couldn't identify. "Mia, are you seeing this?" I asked, not taking my eyes off the ethereal figure. She nodded, her wide eyes reflecting the same fear and fascination I felt. The atmosphere around us seemed to shift. The wind blew stronger, as if nature itself was reacting to what we were about to uncover. "Dylan, we need to understand who did this to her," Mia whispered, her voice trembling. "If the old man we talked to is really involved, we need to expose the truth." Emily seemed to hear our words. She delicately extended her hand, and I felt a wave of energy course through my body. The pain in her eyes began to fade, but sadness still lingered. I didn't know if she was thanking me or pleading for help, but it was clear that something needed to be done. Then, as if the water itself had come to life, objects began to slowly emerge from the surface of the lake. I saw a locket, its surface covered in algae and dirt, yet still gleaming under the moonlight. It was an image of Emily, young and full of life, and beside her was a young man I didn't recognize. "Mia, look!" I pointed at the locket, excitement mingled with fear. Emily's spirit seemed to encourage us to take the object. Hesitantly, I reached out and pulled the locket from the water, feeling the coldness of the water trickling through my fingers. When I opened it, the photo of Emily was accompanied by a small yellowed note. "What does it say?" Mia asked, her gaze fixed on the locket. "It's a message. It talks about a forbidden love, something that shouldn't have happened." I read aloud, the words resonating in the silent night. "She mentions a childhood friend, someone who betrayed her, and that was what led her to this fate." At that moment, Emily's figure began to vibrate with an intensity I had never seen before. It was as if she was preparing for a confrontation, and I knew it was time to act. "Mia, we need to go back to camp and confront the old man," I insisted, urgency rising in my voice. "He has to pay for this." We ran back, the locket secure in my hand. The old man was sitting by the campfire, his gaze lost in the flames. Upon seeing us, he stood up, a smile that didn't reach his eyes forming on his face. "What are you two doing here so late?" he asked, trying to hide the tension in his voice. "We know the truth about Emily," Mia exclaimed, anger spilling from her words. "You betrayed her. You were the reason for her disappearance." The old man's expression changed instantly, the mask of indifference fading. "You don't know what you're talking about. You shouldn't meddle in things you don't understand," he said, his voice now trembling. "You can't escape the truth," I shouted, holding the locket in front of him. "She needs justice. You have to pay." The old man hesitated, his eyes darting away, but there was no way out now. Emily's spirit appeared beside us, her presence now stronger than ever. The lake seemed to resonate with the truth that was finally being revealed. I didn't want this to happen," he stammered, as if trying to justify the unjustifiable. But Emily's gaze was clear. She wasn't there to hear excuses. With a movement of her hand, the lake began to stir, as if absorbing the pain and lies that had been buried for so long. In an instant, the old man fell to his knees, guilt pouring from his eyes. "Please, forgive me," he murmured. But Emily's spirit responded with profound silence, an echo of what could never be undone. And so, with the truth finally exposed, I felt that the lake, once so silent, was now beginning to tell its own story. A story of love, betrayal, and finally, of redemption. Mia and I exchanged glances, understanding that while the journey had been terrifying, we had found something deeper, the certainty that Emily's memory would never be forgotten. From that day forward, we would protect her story, ensuring that Silent Lake would no longer be a place of mystery and pain. The silence around Silent Lake was almost as deep as the darkness that enveloped it. As Mia and Dylan moved away from the shore, a persistent thought occupied their minds. What else did this place hide? They had found answers, yes, but they had also raised new questions. The stories of Emily and the other disappearances seemed to be linked to something much darker and older than mere small-town legends. As they returned to the campsite, the words of the old antique shop owner echoed in their thoughts. He had mentioned secrets, forbidden loves, and betrayals that somehow intertwined with Emily's tragic story. But was that enough to explain the unsettling presence that still seemed to linger over the lake? Or was there something more? Something that remained buried in the dark waters, waiting to be revealed? If there's one thing we learned today, it's that the unknown cannot always be understood or rationalized. Some truths remain hidden, like shadows at the bottom of a lake. However, one thing is certain. Emily's spirit was not at peace, and until the true story was known, neither Mia, nor Dylan, nor any other curious soul would be safe. They realized that Silent Lake was not just a physical location, but a place where the past and present intertwined in a deadly dance. Now, I ask you, our faithful explorer of shadows, what would you do if confronted with a mystery as deep and frightening as this? Leave your theories in the comments and tell us what you would do in Mia and Dylan's place. Would you also risk everything to uncover the truth? Or would you heed the warnings of those who came before and keep your distance? Remember, sometimes the pursuit of truth can lead us to dark and unexpected places. And in locations like Silent Lake, what you don't see is just as important as what you do see. Perhaps the real lesson here is that some stories are better left untold. And so, we close another dark chapter here at Midnight Mysteries. If you enjoyed this story and want to keep exploring the more obscure mysteries of the world, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. This not only helps us continue bringing these tales to you, but it also ensures you never miss a new video. After all, who knows what else we might uncover together? And of course, if you really want to dive deeper into the shadows, share this video with your friends. Spread the mystery and let them experience the chilling story of Emily and the Silent Lake as well. Who knows? Maybe together we can unravel even deeper secrets. Thank you for being here with us, exploring the unknown. Without you, our fearless explorers of the shadows, this channel would be nothing more than a lost voice in the darkness. You are the reason we continue to bring these intriguing and, of course, spooky stories. Now, before you go, take a look at the videos popping up on your screen. Choose one to continue this journey of mystery and terror. After all, at Midnight Mysteries, the night never ends, and there are always more stories waiting to be told. Until next time, my friends, if there is to be a next time.